Hello, and welcome to LinMot Tutorials. Today, we will walk through how to check which version of firmware is currently installed on a LinMot drive, and how to install new firmware. At this point, you should have LinMot Talk open and connected to the drive using a USB RS-232 converter. If the drive has been previously configured, it is recommended to save the drive's configuration file before installing new firmware. This can be done by going to File and Export. The drive should appear in the project window with a green icon, the name of the drive, as well as the COM port of the drive, which is COM3. Left-click the green icon or the name of the drive. The version of firmware installed in the drive should be listed next to firmware release. To find the LinMot Talk's firmware version, go to Help, About LinMot Talk, and it should be located at the top of the window, shown here. For new applications, it is recommended to install the latest drive firmware to address any bug fixes and be able to utilize the latest drive features. The firmware is included with LinMot Talk, so the latest version of LinMot Talk is necessary to install the latest drive firmware. Note that you cannot jump to more than 2 minor revisions as you download firmware. In doing so, can brick the drive. For example, if you are using firmware build 6.5, you must download 6.7, then 6.9. To download older firmware releases, go to Help, Update Functions, Download Older Releases, and here shows you the list of all available firmware that has been released. Now that we have tested the connection between the computer and the drive, we can install firmware. We go to File, Log Out, File, Install Firmware. Select and open the firmware build and click Open. Be sure that for the device port you are using the correct COM. In this case, it's COM3. Click OK. By default, the username should be service in all caps. The password should be left blank. Click OK. Select the desired interface and application. For this example, the interface will be kept as Ethernet IP. Select the application you'd like to install, if necessary. I'm going to choose None. The system is ready to download the firmware. The download procedure will erase all former settings. Do you want to continue? Click OK. Do not allow the drive or computer to be shut off or become disconnected during the firmware installation. One of the common mistakes made is allowing the computer to go to sleep during a firmware installation. When the firmware installation is done, a prompt will appear that says, "Installation successfully completed." Click OK. Now, we log back into our drive, log in, open offline, click OK. If you would like to retrieve your drive's configuration file that has been saved, we go to File and Import. Now we make sure the firmware version on the drive matches the firmware version that was installed. So we go to the drive name, and under firmware release should have the newly installed firmware version. This concludes this tutorial. Thank you.